Hey guys, Tom Davidson, Landon Hutchinson back with Yard Work. Today we have Drew Haney with Chicken Fried Baseball. Obviously, we wanted to bring you on here. We know you've been in a couple of our events in the past. I think we probably took a little poll this past summer to come up with the most unique baseball team names that are in our events. I don't know that Chicken Fried had many competitors in that, but can you kind of intro the program and tell us how it started and where you guys are at now?
Sure, yeah. First of all, thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Um, our program now we're at the college wood bat level where our guys have. It was interesting. They were U18 last summer, and we thought it was going to be kind of the end of the road. But as they progressed on into uh, playing in college, a lot of them, expressed an interest in, hey, can we stay together? Um, I spoke with the league that's based here in Central Ohio, OICBA, Danny LaPera specifically, and he was a tremendous resource and helpful in helping us get organized and help us to join that league. So now and to do so, we've added some new faces that we're excited about as well. Um, in terms of how we got here, it's kind of an interesting story where we've had the same guys for a long time. Uh, some new faces come in along the way, of course, like a lot of programs, but this was an item that kind of grew on its own steam a little bit, and uh, really based around a group of players and a group of parents that really just kind of, you hear that phrase buy-in all the time. It sounds kind of cliche nowadays, but it's the truth. We had players and parents that were really supportive of how we tried to approach things, and I'm very proud of the fact that our guys, that they've gotten pretty darn good. But more importantly, I think that they're good people, and I know that they've really enjoyed the heck out of each other and the game. So in that regard, I think we're doing things well.
What age did they all start together as this kind of core group?
You know, the core of this thing really came together when they were 13. So it's been a long while now coming. We were with the organization previously, and that there were, like a lot of things, the organizations kind of will ebb and flow, and parting ways seemed like the right thing for us. And at the time, and this is where the goofy name comes in. So we knew that we were leaving, and we knew, okay, we're not going to join another organization. And the guys said, well, hey, what are we going to be called, right? They were, and the coaches and I, who, by the way, Mike Wells has been with me the whole ride here. He's as good a guy as you'll find. We said, look, guys, this is your team. You guys let us know what you want to be called. And as long as it's not something that sounds bad or, then whatever, it's y'all's team. And so there was it took a while. There was kind of a process, but they eventually landed on wanting to be called Chicken Fried Baseball, and it's been a lot of fun. That aspect of things also has been a lot of fun. So
That's cool. So now these guys are going to advance on to one of the collegiate leagues, which over the last few weeks, I think we've seen a number of these things pop up. I know here locally in Indianapolis, they're going to try to get one together for these guys just because of the situation on, whether some of these guys, even the top players in the country, we've had a question on whether they're going to go to the Cape Cod or not. And we had a question on, some of the programs, even in our space and the high school level, that bring kids from all over the country in. You've got a couple of them in Ohio. Are they going to be able to get those guys into host families comfortably and be able to do that or not? But as they go into these collegiate leagues, what's that next progress for these guys? Are they working out at a facility, or are you guys kind of managing that, or what?
This is a really challenging time for everybody, and just yesterday here in Ohio, that at the high school level, they announced that that was going to be it, and we all feel terrible for all these guys. Obviously there are more significant problems happening in the world right now, but within this universe, feel badly for these kids for the lost time off the field. With our guys specifically, a lot of them are natives of Central Ohio, so they're as their colleges were adjourned and went to the online, they've been at home, and my goal has been to try to just keep them engaged by phone, by however. And I think like a lot of players, these guys to have gotten to where they are, they've got some implements at home, right? They've got nets,
Right.
they've got the walls and whatnot, and for pitching, and so it's been a matter of just trying to keep guys engaged and make sure, hey, do you need anything from us? Because there's very little, I hate to admit this, but very little we can do when we're supposed to be functioning at this, the distancing kind of stuff. So, but I keep in regular contact with our guys. They, I'm proud of them. They're keeping their shoulder into it in terms of the books, which I think is a really tough thing because, at that age you get sent home, and I think it's pretty hard to stay focused on the books no matter what's going on. But
Oh, for sure.
um, so our, they're working out kind of individually or small group to a certain extent, and trying to stay ready. The big thing for me, and unfortunately this is where I've got kind of a little bit of a blind spot, is because I'm not, by background, I'm not a pitching guy. So I've been trying to make sure I coordinate our pitchers with the right information, and or refer them on to guys where I think, frankly, at this point, I just refer them back to their college coaches saying, hey, look, tell them that you think you need to ramp for, early June. And, hopefully we're able to get on the field at that point in time. It maybe gets pushed back a little bit. I don't know, frankly, whatever's best for the big picture, but that's kind of where we're coming from, trying to keep guys ready to go in the event that we are able to play.
What colleges are a lot of your guys from, Drew?
We've got guys from a lot of different levels. We've got a couple guys from up at Tri-C, up at Cuyahoga. We've got guys from Wittenberg, Case Western Reserve. We've got one of our guys who is a really talented kid and a really good person off the field. One of our guys has finished up at Tri-C and is now committed to Southern University down in Baton Rouge, and so it's Enrique Ozoa. He's headed down there. We've got guys from Ohio Wesleyan, and I'm trying not to look at my notes here. I'm trying to stay on, so I know I'm forgetting. So Wittenberg. So I apologize if I've neglected to name any of those programs, but we've got frankly one of the things that I think, and Edison State out in Pickwa. So one of the things that I think has been kind of an interesting phenomena here was didn't really have to recruit guys. Essentially told our core guys that have been, so well, look, you all have college teammates now. So and our culture. So if you've got teammates that you think would be a good fit and they want to play ball this summer, and if it's, have them call me. And then, had some coaches that we've known, and they've kind of referred some guys, and really appreciate those relationships also. So it's been great in that regard, that a lot of our players know each other from playing in your events and other tournaments, and we're hopeful that the summer will happen, and if it does, we think it'll be another good run, a lot of fun for these guys.
Yeah, I think there's a very different approach from the high school space, and once you get into that college level, as far as you still kind of have travel ball. It's more of a league setup when you get to the college side. in our space right now with these guys losing their senior season, things like that, even your guys from the JC side, are some of your guys utilizing these tech pieces that we've been pushing for the seniors and juniors this year to utilize online as well?
Yeah, I mean, to the extent that they can, I think a lot of that is a function of, is the tech available? Is it at a facility, and is that facility accessible to them right now? Unfortunately, a lot of these facilities have had to close the doors, right? Because here in Ohio they count as a gym, and those have been so that's unfortunate. I think that what a lot of our guys have done is kind of what we've advised them the whole way since they were little guys, which was, hey, just if you really focus on doing all the little things as well as you can, that's your best shot at staying ready, right? And make sure that you sleep, make sure that you eat, you take care of your body. You guys know how to play baseball. Pitching is a different animal, right? Because the trying to have those guys ramped at the right time. And frankly, I don't think that, as far as kind of industry wide, I'm not aware of a whole, the entire pitching world having to just stop and then restart for a maybe unknown date. So that it's an odd thing, and one that I think we're going to have to be pretty flexible about if we are able to play, in terms of how do we build guys out, and what kind of load do we put on them? Because frankly, what I've told our guys all year was, hey, look, the goal of our summer, this summer, and of this whole league, frankly, is that we want guys to be able to lift. We want guys to be able to eat and sleep, so that when you go back to school in the fall, you're stronger, you're heavier, you're better, you're more able to then impress your college coach next fall. So so obviously we're going to try to keep the innings down on those arms so that those guys are ready to go in the fall, because this league, our program is not about, hey, can we win tonight or tomorrow or whatever. It's about, can we prepare our guys to do well at their college and in their program. So
Yeah, Drew, I just have one question before I go to another one, but you landed on chicken fried. I'm kind of curious, what were the other names that they were thinking about to naming the team?
Oh, well, I tell you, I don't, the one I can remember for sure is one of our guys was adamant that we put elite at the end of it, that we would be chicken fried elite, and he thought that was part of really burying the nailhead on our message of being maybe making a little bit of light of ourselves, but that was Jackson Golter that wanted to he's a rising sophomore up at Tri-C.
Gosh, if you could go through and count the number of travel teams that either have elite at the end of it, if you did that and combined it with the number of organizations that have 3 or 4 teams and they just change it to red, black, white.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to seem catty about, but you see a lot of, and frankly, this was part of it, was we were in a hotel up in Cleveland, and it was raining, and we were talking about names, and you know what it's like when it rains at these tournaments, right, guys? So you're
barely.
Yeah, the minutes stretch into weeks, it feels like, right? And guys were talking about it, and we talked about, there's a kind of a big number of teams that have these awfully forward-leaning sounding names, right? That and we thought, maybe something that's a little bit more lighthearted would be nice. And it's been fun. We've been all over the place, and everywhere we go, people have been trying to buy T-shirts and hats from us, and so it's a lot of fun. It is.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to bring up, you were talking about how this summer is going to be a little different. Is a lot of coaches are talking about how do we ramp up as far as the pitching side of things. The one thing that is definitely different this year compared to other years, I would say, at least in my opinion, is the restrictions probably aren't going to be as much. Now, however many innings they can pitch, that's, different. But usually, when they get to the summer, they've already pitched 80, 120, 150 innings if you count the fall, leading into that time. So they've really only had maybe 80 innings total if you count the fall and the spring. So that's like one thing that's extremely, different this year. Have your guys been experiencing issues with like getting outside and, training as far as the arms go?
Yeah, I think it varies on where they live and what kind of, resources they have around them. One of our guys has got um, he's got an older sibling that had played in college very recently, and so I know that they're, nobody's doing more training than those two. That's what they do all day, every day, right? But some of our guys that maybe, the resources around them aren't as accessible. So I think they're having to get pretty creative, and I know we certainly see that on, on the computer and on the phone, right? With guys, trying to making gyms out of concrete and things like that. So there's a lot of creativity here. I think on the when you mine down and you get into that real metric kind of stuff that where you were talking about, inning count, things like that. I think that's where the challenge is just insurmountable right now, because you can't tell a kid, hey, you need to be ready to go June 1, because we don't know that, right? It might be, for all we know, it might be,
July 1.
Right? So I don't want to advise a kid, hey, you need to ramp and be ready and all, because, there's, and Hutch, I know this much better than I, there's an ebb and a flow to things, and so I don't want to try to, advise a kid wrongly. And frankly, given the calendar, given what we don't know, I don't know what is the right answer other than, try to stay active. And I've told them all, hey, just bear in mind, wherever you're at, that's where we'll be. So if you've got, if we're able to start in June, and if based on the workload that you've been at, if you're going to be we're going to throw you for 2 innings, and we're going to try to ramp you to maybe 4 innings by July, then that's where we are, because the goal is to have you heavier and better, come August when you go back to your college program. So, wherever you are, that's where we are. And our guys know that. And I think they're, we're just trying to make the best of an unfortunate situation. So.
Yeah, you just have to maintain. That's the biggest advice I could give, is just making sure that you're not shutting down, or you're only throwing 2 times a week, and those 2 times that you are throwing, you're not throwing a ton, or you're long tossing because your arm feels great. Well, your arm feels great because you haven't been throwing. You gotta. There's been multiple people that we've talked to that's arm have pitching backgrounds, and all of them say it's a violent act. Everything is extreme, and it's an extreme thing to do. So you can't just go out there, and you're not going to, Zan Barksdale said, you're not going to just put, 245 on your first rep, you're going to work your way up. So making sure that those guys are doing those things is definitely huge. What part of where are you guys based out of, just to let the people know, and where a lot of your guys are from?
We're based here in Central Ohio. We've had, and all of our players are essentially from this region here, in that, if we had a distance guy, we've got, we could look into some housing and a job for a guy if we had to, but, we've been able to build out this roster with known guys that are from the, kind of Columbus region. And that's you guys know the landscape, it's a fairly big geographic footprint, but Central Ohio, so in this summer, as I said earlier, I think we're playing the OICBA, Ohio Independent Collegiate Baseball Association, which it's a league that's been here in Central Ohio since like '96, and they've kind of reorganized some things. And Danny LaPera has been instrumental in trying to kind of increase the branding and increase the awareness, and bring in some more players from different parts of the state and or the region. So I think it's a great league. I think that it's got the right idea also, in that, you know, and not to disparage what anybody else does anywhere else, but I think focusing on having an opportunity to stay sharp skill wise while building yourself physically. I think that's what college guys need in the summer, because uh, playing time gets sorted out in the fall, right? You got to be ready in the fall, and nobody's going to ask a guy, "Hey, what'd you hit this summer?" So my goal is make sure our guys are lifted, make sure they're doing everything they need to do to really be able to hit the ground running in the fall, and impress that coaching staff at their college. So
With the change from an 18U team where these guys are still high schoolers to the college level, do you have any change in coaching from the sense of maybe you used to tweak a swing or tweak how someone threw in the past, and now is there more of a laid back approach and say, look, I don't want to do something that your coach told you to do back in school?
yeah, well, I'd say the one thing about our culture, and this is back to when these kids were 13. We used to have meetings where we had the parents come also, and we said, look, there's certain things that we're going to do and some things we're not going to do. And we've always been very adamant about trying to remove apprehension from players, trying to remove the idea of results, okay, and say, we're just going to live in this moment and then the next one. And then, we've all heard this said a million different ways, right? But we tried to instill that very young, and had the parents show up at these meetings and hear that, and added on to that, hey, look, players and parents, when we make a mistake, when we have a bad outcome, the only thing we say is good effort. That's it. We don't. And that very quickly, our kids took to it, parents took to it. Our kids started to, when they were younger, they started being able to, I think, take more and more and more of an older brand of coaching, okay, like you would deploy with older guys. And by that I mean less coaching, okay, and that I don't consider myself an expert at anything, and so I try not to get into the details on a swing or whatever, but I try to more focus on what's the approach here, okay, and that being with young players, let it rip. I mean, I've been adamant since these kids were little. I used to get a bunch of grief from people about this, but 0-0 we're swinging, 3-0 we're swinging, because you got to learn how to hit, right? So you can learn how to take in 5 seconds, but it takes a long time to learn how to hit. So so as these kids got older, Mike and I we felt really, really lucky to be able to just let go more and more and more. And frankly, we've had catchers that we don't call pitches. We have the catchers call the games. And the last 2 summers we haven't used signals offensively. We haven't had signals. We get in, hit. If you want to put a bunt down, go ahead. Base runners, you're all green all the time. Just don't get thrown out. And
you can go, but don't get thrown out.
Yeah, and so I think that's one of the reasons why our kids really like playing for us, because it's we try to play wide open, and we try to play in a in a pretty aggressive, but we like that phrase wide open, and I think that translates to good results generally. And when you don't get good results, that's when you got to say, all right, well, we're going to shut the door on that one and lock it and move forward. So I don't know if I answered that question very well, but on the how do we coach these guys, this may sound silly or stupid, but we've kind of intentionally undercoached the X's and O's, and I've always said, hey, look, the skill that you got to learn here is how to stay calm when things are difficult, and how to stay confident when things are difficult. You learn those things, the rest will come pretty easy at that point.
Yeah, we like to let our guys call the game. That it's taken some time at UND, but it starts in the fall. Have them call the pitches in the beginning. have them learn from their mistakes. They get to know their pitchers better. You know, when they come in, they understand that the guy before was throwing a little bit harder and probably not going to want to throw fastballs to that same hitter because there's a 6 mile an hour difference in those two guys. And the other guy's got a really good slider. So that's his best out pitch against this guy, or, you know, whatever, just having them learn. And then the green light thing with the base running, that's huge too. I mean, we preach to our guys on what counts to stealing, because if I'm telling you to go and you're telling yourself, man, I don't really know if I'm going to get a good jump or something, you don't have that conviction to where that you're going to want to make that, you know, that stolen base. You know, you got to steal in those 1-2 counts. You got to steal in the time 0-2 counts. You know, those are good times to go because pitcher doesn't really want to throw one right down the middle. And if he does, he's probably the guy's swinging and it's basically a hit and run, you know? So there's little things that they can learn just by doing those things.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I think that a lot of programs, you know, well, kids, it's not programs, nobody's doing anything wrong, but players will fall into the habit of being very worrisome about results. And so we try to take that out of the equation and let kids focus on, hey, if you expect good things to happen and just really apply yourself to playing as hard as you can, then chances are, you know, the big things will take care of themselves. And you know, and I feel, again, just while I have this opportunity, I want to thank our players and our parents and my wife, who, you know, is she's been very supportive of, you know, everybody knows what baseball wives do, but these players and these parents are who really enabled us to kind of deploy this kind of a theory here that, I had a coach back in college that, you know, I think very good coach, and these concepts were introduced to us. And I thought, well, we should do this with these young kids because, you know, you go to these tournaments and you see a bunch of people that are screaming their heads off. And, you know, I always thought, well, that's not the way to learn how to hit with 2 strikes, you know, with the whole world screaming their head off at you. So, so we're very lucky to found, you know, for this group of people to have kind of all found each other here. And again, Mike Wells has coached with me this whole run here, and couldn't ask for a better guy to be alongside with. So
yeah. Hey, before we let you go, I think one of the more unique features outside of the team name is being a single team organization. You know, we've talked to a couple of teams on here. You don't see that anymore. I think a lot of teams, maybe even players and parents, feel like they have to be a part of an organization to be seen, to get exposure, to get to the next level, or, you know,
yeah.
have the best digs and all that kind of stuff. I think it's really unique that you can see that there are single team organizations out there. There aren't a ton left because there are some benefits of being a part of a big program, but I mean, I think it's cool that these guys have all stayed together so long and remained on that single team approach. And I think ultimately picked out a perfect name for sure.
Well, it's, you know, I'm, as I say, you know, we're here because of these guys. You know, we're very lucky in that regard. I think you're spot on that in 9 to 10 cases, I think that those larger programs are probably going to be the right choice for kids, because those are the programs that are going to have the resources, they're going to have facilities, things like that. You know, because they could scale things, you know, and with a lot of kids that are high level or want to be, that's going to be the right choice for them. And frankly, when you go to bet on kind of an independent thing, you know, and again, not to, you know, I try to be a positive guy, but you know, you gotta be sure of who you're betting on then also, right? And so I've been very lucky that these kids and parents have been willing to bet on me, and so it's been a good ride for all of us. But yeah, I mean, to your point, I think that in most cases, those larger organizations are going to be a better choice for young players because of all those resources that they bring along. And then for guys that want to continue playing in college, you know, I had some relationships and things that I was able to communicate with guys and tell them, hey, look, here's how we think you should try to you know, network yourself to try to find a good fit. But But those larger organizations are going to be ones that college coaches can really kind of rely on from a yeah, hey, we know those guys and we know what they do, and their kids come up with the right kind of skill sets. And so it's yeah, so the kind of one team shows I think are few and far between, and but I think that's okay. And I think that for the majority of young players, it's probably better to be with a big outfit that's able to bring a lot of those resources to those kids.
Yep, agreed. Well, we appreciate you coming on, letting us steal part of your day, and hopefully we can get these guys out there, whether it's in our events or the collegiate league, something like that. We're definitely ready to see something competitive out there, and baseball would be a priority for sure.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thank you guys very much, and on behalf of all our players, thank you for what you guys have done all these years. We've played in a ton of your events, and they have been a blast to play in, well put on. The guys at all the fields, you guys work your tails off and do a great job, and have provided some really great experiences for tons of players. So thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Drew.
Thanks, Drew. Have a good one.
Thanks, you guys too.